welcome back to another installment of Carbon Ether Podcast. I am the astute Sharif Prescott, and sitting here with me today is the rest of the panel. And before we begin, I would like to say it is an honor to be amidst such sagacious men. Sitting with me here today is Chris Brown, Depot, and Derek Cook. And today's discussion will be none other than DEI.
First of all, I'd like to say something first. Make sure everyone hits that like button, subscribe, comment on email,
Definitely,
and also share with a friend that can share with another friend.
Absolutely. We need that. You know, if you hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment, it helps the channel out. And as you all know, across the board of podcasting, those things are essential to a podcast and its movement forward. And that's it. Appreciate that, Cook. We dang sure needed that one. But here we go, DEI.
So, you know, something that we was talking about earlier before the podcast, when we was off screen, we were talking about how sports and DEI kind of commingles or how it's intertwined. And I did bring up the fact that Colin Kaepernick was one of the faces of, I guess you would call it, him being well, first of all, who is Colin Kaepernick? Because some of you don't know. I know some of you probably a little younger than us. But he played with the San Francisco 49ers. He was a quarterback. He was a social activist as well. He protested against police brutality and racial injustice. But the thing that we were focusing on was the fact that he did something that's become global. He actually took a knee. Well, he stood up and he took a knee, which was a powerful statement, a simple act like taking a knee you wouldn't think would be as powerful as it was. But it was powerful indeed.
Absolutely.
Now, how does that intertwine with DEI?
His job.
He lost his job. He lost his job.
Faced a lot of public slander. Some could say humiliation.
That's true.
It was a terrible thing. And what I don't understand is Colin Kaepernick was on the platform. He was on the world stage, superstar athlete. I'm not a big sports fan like that of the NFL. But him taking that knee said a lot to me because he was standing up for a cause. And in this country, we still like to think, a lot of us like to think that the dark side has been eradicated when naturally no. It's just covered by some artificial veils of rhetoric. We're still in hard times, especially under this current administration, which I always mention this current administration.
Right.
Because when you look at what's happening, DEI have been thrown upon people that look like us, melanated people, as if we are the primary benefactors of DEI when we're not.
Yeah.
Right.
When and this again, this is a conversation that many people out there that watch the show, you might not like this conversation, and we're not attacking anybody. We're not spouting racism or racial rhetoric. We're just calling it for what it is. But white women are the largest amongst the benefactors of DEI.
Yeah.
Am I not correct?
That is correct.
Absolutely right.
What I think the first thing we probably need to do is establish to the audience what is DEI. You know, we can take it as if I think you was going to touch upon that, but we always take for granted that you know what we're talking about. I like to break things down to what I call Barney level or the most simplest level so you can understand where we at and we'll build from there.
Yeah,
so exactly what is DEI?
Basically layman's terms in a nutshell. But if you look at DEI, it's an acronym that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think Brown is going to.
Well, I was just going to say what started DEI. It started when people began to demand equal rights for all, regardless of race, ethnicity, how you say it?
Ethnicity,
gender, or sexual orientation.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it said in the decades since, DEI has become increasingly important in the workplace. Businesses have realized that diverse and inclusive workforce is essential for success.
And to capitalize off that, when you look at diversity, it's the D in DEI, recognizing and valuing differences in races, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and more. When we look at equity, providing everyone with the resources and opportunities they need to reach an equal outcome. And when we look at inclusion, creating environments where everyone feels welcome and a sense of belonging. What's wrong with that? Why is this such a bad thing? So let's dive into it from there. What's wrong with DEI? What's wrong with, let's say, like a Target that was just all about DEI? LGBTQ community had things. You can go in there and buy products for them.
The black history
Yeah.
for they took everything out.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many different things, but why? Why take it out? If it's not a problem, then if you're making money from it and you want to be inclusive, then why not leave those products inside the store? That's my question. D, what do you think?
I think that you're spot on. In the words of Kendrick Lamar,
They're not like us.
and they'll never be like us.
Mustard!
And they'll never be like us. You know, you want to take those books out because you want to know you know that if youth with a lost history they never can progress. So you're going to cut them off at the hip. The older people, our culture at least, we're already somewhat educated. But at one time, we didn't know that Columbus didn't discover America. We always thought that America was discovered by Columbus. But now that we know better than that, we say.
Well, that's what you were taught, though. That's
what we're taught.
Yeah, that's what you're taught.
So
Absolutely.
in essence, what we're taught is what we know. I always tell you that we cover with what we know, simply meaning that if you start to teach, and I think that this started in the home, I think that's one of the things that we need to capture, that it starts in the home. So mom and dad would be the best way to go. But if it's only mom there, brothers, I say this every time, I said it at the first one, we need to step up. Don't leave our sisters out there by themselves. But if mom and dad is in the home and you're educating your youth, if you're educating your children, then they're going to be way better off than just going to school. The school shouldn't have to be your end all, the end all for the education of your youth and your students, your children. Start there. So let me go back to what I meant by that. That's why you want to take the books out of the household. You want to take them out of the schools, out of the household, off the table, because once you educate them, they're going to know where they came from.
Yeah.
The more education you give them, the better they're going to be.
Yeah.
So let's take those books away from them. Let's go and be like Florida and take those books away, burn them, and do whatever, so they'll never be educated. The only education you're going to get is what
What they teach. What they give.
I don't want to say to you. I'll say what they give you,
Yeah,
right?
what they
To
give
be
you.
politically correct.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that the DEI is most effective from my precision.
But I also think it's a lot of misunderstanding about DEI too.
Okay.
You know, I'm just saying because DEI, I know you're saying that for us as a people, black people, we're on the bottom part of that totem
Yeah.
pole, and other races up top. But it also helps, like it works in favor for like veterans.
Mm-hmm.
It works for veterans. It
Yeah.
works for people with disabilities also.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the main, as you were saying, us being on the bottom, because some people just see DEI as like with race,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
covers different other things. You know what I'm saying? But that's the main thing that we're hit with, and a lot of people don't really. If it doesn't affect you, you know, it doesn't exist to you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But if it affects you, you know a lot about it. But
Yeah.
I mean,
The most important thing is I would like for people to really grasp hold of is DEI is not exclusive to black people. We got to stop with the madness. I mean, when you look at DEI for what it's worth, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that should just be across the board.
Yeah.
But as usual, when we look at history, why did DEI come to life?
I'll tell you one of the reasons why I came to life, if I may, and that's because of what you were talking about earlier off camera again, nepotism. Nepotism is simply tells you that, or in layman's term, if you own the company, you got all the toys, you make the rules.
You make all the
rules. So if you have a person that owns a company, and hey, I think that Deepak said you should be just like that. If you own the company, Why aren't you hiring your cousin? Why aren't you hiring your son? Why aren't you hiring your daughter or your nephews and keep it in your family? Because that's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I think we miss out. I think we miss that point. Because if we start doing for our own, it's kind of like, well, we kind of do it, but then we kind of not do it.
Yeah.
We kind of like, we have the Masonic orders, we have the Greek letter organization, we have the different church groups and whatnot, and they'll keep everything in house, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to something big like owning a company, in a crazy way, the white man's ice is colder than the black man's ice. So you're gonna always go to that white store to get the best foods and the best product. We don't never support our own, or it's very rare that we support our own.
Yeah.
And I think we lose that traction right there. So when it comes to nepotism, like we were talking about, they will take care of their own people. I'll tell you somebody else, and not to gravitate towards something else, but I'll tell you something else. The Indians are doing a great job. They're doing a great job of nepotism, if you will, because they're going to support their own. They're going to hire their own, and you're going to start hearing on your TVs and radios. You're going to start hearing when you go to call Sprint or Verizon or somebody, you got a problem with your phone. Who are you hearing that phone? You ain't hearing no sisters. You rarely hearing Europeans. You mostly hearing Indians and other people that's overseas.
Yeah,
they look straight from India, but it's named Charlie.
Right.
You know?
But they work together to build each other up, though. We don't work
Correct.
as build each other up. I mean, it's okay we might help out a little bit, but it's, we don't do all that we can to help each other up. I mean,
No, and let me tell you how much truth there is to that, though. Being from Carrollton, which is where I'm from, Carrollton, Georgia, I've seen so many Haitian restaurants, Jamaican restaurants come and open up on the west side of town, which west side is where all us melanated people are. They don't last. They always close. But you take this one restaurant across town over on Bankhead, I forget the name of it, but y'all know what it is over there by the lake, right behind Enterprise, car rental.
Sound like you've been on Bankhead for.
It's Bankhead in character, but it ain't like the Bankhead in the city. But when you look at that restaurant owned by Asians, it's been open forever. It's been open for years now.
Right.
But if you go to anything that we open, it's our own communities that don't support it.
That's exactly what Chris was saying. We're not supporting our own. There's going to be a day, and I think it's at the end of the month, and I want to just make a plug if you don't mind. On the 28th, I think it is. If everybody, and I don't know the specifics of the thing because I'm buying black all the time, so it's not like a big to do for me. But I think it's just only spending your money at your local black and ethnic restaurants and stores and whatnot, mom and pop shops and stuff like that, and show the power of your dollar.
Yeah.
So,
Because
good point.
Protesting is one thing.
big.
You can go out there, you can march, and we shall overcome with your picket signs. I'm not knocking it. But the only way to get a capitalist is which way?
Through his pocket.
Through capitalism. You capitalize on his capitalism, and it brings about change. That's the thing right now in this country is we got this Doge thing with Elon Musk, right? You can go as far back to Venice, I think the 1700s, when something like this happened, almost like the educated proletariat.
Correct.
Which let me say this about the educated proletariat. What we have to again, this is not trying to be ugly. What white people have to understand is during the time when they was telling melanated people that they weren't allowed to learn to read and write and what have you, restricting us from education, then tell us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, which to me is a metaphor for bend over and keep pulling and never raise up and see what's actually happening. Well, the educated proletariat by way of Ronald Reagan was like, basically went back to what Rockefeller said. We don't need a nation of thinkers. If they go and become educated, and they come from down here at the bottom, when they come from the bottom of the sea, and then they rise up, they get this education, they're going to take it back to the community and start educating the community. Right. So now we gotta find a way to stop. And this was for you white people who was siding with the melanated people of the time, or you just thought to yourself, this just ain't right. I don't like this war. I don't like the direction of the country. This is crazy. Right. Guess what the politicians do? What they always do? Politics. Right. So they put a cap on school. Let's start charging. And every year since Ronald Reagan won the governorship of California, it's been absolutely absurd. Look at the student loans, and then whenever we say, hey, as they call him, Sleepy Joe, we're gonna do something to help with the student loans. You know, we're gonna do this forgiveness thing or whatever.
Right.
What does the Republicans do? Oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then turn around and do things for themselves that they are in favor of, but keep us impoverished. If you keep us fighting amongst one another with this whole black and white thing, I'm over that shit. Hands down, bottom line, I'm not studying that.
Right.
I'm standing up for all people because I care about everybody.
So rich getting richer, while the poor stay down below.
And we're going to stay below because at work, just having conversations at work with illiterate, untutored, unlettered people. The conversations, and they will argue you down. I ain't done any real research, ain't looked into anything besides watching certain news outlets. And this is crazy. This is absurd. And this is what happens across the board with a lot of us. Because even for those,
you're saying you having conversations at work with black coworkers or white coworkers?
well, you know, the guys that look like me, it's not a lot to converse about besides me and my one guy, Kevin. Kevin's a pretty sharp guy. Then, you know, that's my boy O. He's up on game, and then there's Derek. He's up on some game. But for the most part,
you have to educate. You have to educate them on.
They know Sharif's gonna debate with everybody. So. They already know that. Oh hell, here comes Sharif. You know it, but you better be on your A game.
Yeah,
because I'm always on mine.
Right.
To get back to DEI, I think that it was kind of created for corporate America.
Yeah.
In hopes of kind of making limited liability fights against discrimination cases, right? To take those cases out, and then you still won't get money. Why are we paying all these people because of their skin color and things like that? So be careful when we start talking about. We talk about the pros, but we talk about the cons, but do we talk about the pros as well? Is there any positive things that come from DEI?
Yeah, I definitely think it's some positive things that come out of DEI because it's not about lowering the standards or filling quotas or anything like that. It's about just recognizing, responding to diverse needs, you know, for that workplace that exists in that workplace, because it also helps veterans. You know, it helps again.
Age discrimination.
Yeah, age discrimination for older.
That was age, AGE.
People with disabilities.
Absolutely.
Because it helps people with disabilities, and you know, so basically, damn near everyone in your workforce today, you're working alongside someone who's a product of DEI.
Absolutely. I mean, because we need it. Because if you let corporations have their way, we wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
Right.
How people had a conversation the other day with a guy at work talking about the union, how he hates the union. The union did me wrong. And I was like, you know, I said, what do you mean the union did you wrong? And he went through a big spiel. I said, so you're going to take the actions of that one particular situation and you're going to blame it on unions across the board. I said, do you not know the reason why you have paid vacations, getting paid overtime, sick leave, all this stuff comes from the union that you hate. You benefiting from the union right now, but you hate the union.
Yeah.
This is the stuff, this is what I'm saying when the unlettered, untutored, and unread. This is what happens. Yeah. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I do know that I'm going to read something.
Yeah.
When I hear about something, I'm going to read. I want to know, how does this work? What is it for? Because these things are important. So DEI, it does a lot of great things, but sometimes I feel like it does cripple us if we're dependent on DEI.
Now there you go, Reef. If I may, that's the part that I really want to bring home is the fact that DEI cripples us when we're looking for somebody else to feed us. Yeah. Feed your own child. So I'm not against the fact that feed your own child. I'm not against the fact that here's a company and Brother Brown is very well versed, very well educated. He can fill this slot, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't pick him because the color of his skin, the melanin in the skin. Right. We need that. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we need that. But when you don't do that at a large percentage, then it affects all of us. You know, we kind of all live in the on the west side, right, if you will, and everybody on the west side is not getting fair treatment. So DEI is needed.
Yeah, it's needed, but just because it's needed, and some companies might say they have it, it doesn't still always work out for on your behalf. Even though you're qualified, and the company might, you know what I'm saying, say they got a DEI or whatever, but you still might not get the position. So it's kind of like, it's good if it works, but because of that doesn't mean it's gonna work for you.
I always say the best man for the job, not the next man for the job. So not necessarily your cousin, your uncle, your brothers and sisters and their kids. All of the presidents, when you move into and we got to think a little different too, because I would say all of the presidents, families are always going to have a nice job when they become the president. But we don't look at it like that on this level.
Look at the Kennedys.
We don't look at the Trumps.
Look at the Trumps.
Look at Biden's.
Yeah.
You can go, we can go back from
the Obamas.
Obamas. You can go all the way back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it should be. I'm not saying that I'm the president of the United States and my wife is not going to have a good job, or my son or my daughter or my nieces and nephews. I can help them become better, you know, if they just need the job. Right. But I'm not saying that we're going to do it all, because I don't want to slide over into ride the fence on nepotism. But if you have $1 million, or if you have a $1 billion company, and I'm struggling, and you know I can fit that bill, I'm expecting, you know, I'm demanding that you give me an opportunity to prove myself to be a part of your company. Not just I'm just hiring him because he's my boy, but am I qualified to do what you need?
But I mean, again, I've did it myself. People, I'm sure we all work companies where we might, you know, I work jobs where I work a machine and I do this is my job. I work the machine every day. Mm-hmm. You know, might have an engineer to come in there and be like, you know, why you running the machine so slow? That's as fast as I can run it and give you good quality product. But you know, a lot of stuff on paper looks good. You know, on paper it says you can run your machine this fast, and you know he's educated. He's an engineer, but he hasn't ran my machine. So now I got to change my machine, put all this on here and run it, because he said it'll run 35 miles per hour or whatever. So when we start running, it run 2 seconds and blow up. Now I got to change all this over again for the person just educated. But it doesn't always work on paper. Right. And that's just like somebody getting a job and you having you know everything about the job. You done been on this job 30 years. Right. And they bring somebody in out of school just because he's got a degree. And you got to train him to be your boss. Now what kind of, that's a slap in the face.
But you also have it to where, because it's happened to me, where you have a job, where you qualified. Let's just say I was qualified for the Homeland Security. I'm just saying in this area, and this white guy I know that worked there because his father got him on. He told me the only reason why I got that job is because of my daddy. And,
now my question
and
to
he
you,
actually quit the job.
My question to you is, was he qualified? Was he more qualified than you?
No.
That's the problem right there.
He was,
that's always the problem.
Because I had certificates.
Right.
And on Homeland Security. I've had courses.
How many years of military?
30 years military. 30 years military, and basically had a degree in Homeland Security. But they wouldn't even, I filled probably like application out 2 or 3 times, but didn't get hired. But that guy got hired because
that's his dad.
His dad.
Which is another segue into what Chris just said about even if you did get hired. Let's just say you get hired and he wanted his son to come on, and the son come on, and brother start training him to take his job.
Basically.
Craziness. That's madness.
You're more qualified, like you said.
Yeah.
You're more qualified, but they're gonna bring somebody else on.
In this country,
and weed you out.
In this country of America, it's our home, all our homes, and we love it dearly. So don't start with that. Well, if you got something to say about America, move out the country then. That silly crap right there. But in this country, man, things don't always work the way, as you were saying, when it's on paper, as Brian was putting it. Again, go back to Ronald Reagan. They said an education was set for us to get an education, White people, they was talking to y'all because they already been blocking us. That for y'all to go get an education was senseless. It was stupid. You don't need it. All you need to know how to do is work that company, continue to make them rich. They give you a wage or a salary, keep you quiet, keep you hush, because you're living the American dream. But what really is the American dream? Because according to DEI, the American dream, when you look at DEI, that's the American dream.
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion
Getting
of
opportunity.
everybody having the equal and the same opportunity to lift themselves up without the bootstrap. Bend, untie your shoe. This is what I want you guys to, all of our stars watching right now. I want you to bend over. If you got on a pair of shoestrings and pull your shoestring like you're pulling yourself up by your bootstrap and see if that arch come out your back. And tell me that's not a metaphor to keep your face down toward the ground while they doing whatever they doing because you can't see them. You ain't pulling yourself up by your bootstrap. You're going to pull yourself up with critical thought, which they demonize also. So that's a totally different ball game, but critical thinking is a bad thing in this country. Oh, that's the woke stuff,
Yeah.
My man said you can't pull yourself up by your bootstrap, or you can't prosper.
Nope.
Bending over, trying to help yourself, or lifting your buckets, or lifting yourself by your bootstraps when somebody's sitting on your back.
Exactly.
How you gonna do that?
You can't. You see when somebody on your back, on your neck, what happens?
Yeah.
George Floyd.
Yeah.
And
They
you talk
take you
about
outta
the
here.
American dream. That's right, George Floyd. So you talk about the American dream. The American dream ain't the dream of us.
No.
It's not the dream of,
We ain't
of
never been
culturally
part of that.
our dream.
No.
That's somebody else's dream.
Somebody else's dream. When
Yeah.
you look at this current administration again, he's talking about the 14th Amendment and what they want to do to civil rights. How can we not see? I know I ain't gonna say how can we not see it. How can the masses not see it? Even as you were saying a moment ago about the boycott, the blackout
Yeah.
on the 28th. I already told myself I'm getting everything I need on the 27th. I can promise you I won't spend a dime on the 28th. I ain't got a lot of dimes anyway. That's why we created this podcast.
Even that though, Reef. So let's think of it. Let's think of it a different way. Let's glide into supporting our own. Let's not, because I wouldn't want the stars to think that you buy everything. What day is it? 28th.
28th.
That you buy everything on the 27th from the same European store that you would have bought for tomorrow. Nor do you not do anything on the, what'd you say, 27th?
28th.
On the 28th, and then you go on the 29th and buy everything, go back out to Walmart and buy everything. So you got to look at that, for the long haul.
Yeah.
Well,
That I want to start to go to our stores.
I think that's the point they're making.
Right.
Like you start the 28th and you venture on like Costco, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Costco told this administration, we're not getting rid of our DEI. Now you have several different entities wanting to sue Costco. Everybody's saying they're shopping at Costco now. That's going to boost Costco.
Oh,
They're going to
absolutely.
grow. And I think that's the point. Let's get away from these things over here, create our own. Like when they was talking about TikTok, now you have all these other apps out there that's on the level of TikTok.
Right.
That's great. Fan base. I'm on fan base, which is Isaac Hayes Jr. I love it so far. It's awesome. We got to carry carbon ether over there. But I think that's the point, is to, whatever you're going to do, you go over here and you do it, and then just be done with it. Because Target has lost $8 billion, I think.
Wow.
Already?
So
And we some of the
It's-
largest.
it's
We
in
spend
billions,
$12 million a day at Target.
Okay, but isn't
Our community.
Isn't Walmart on that list too?
Oh, yeah,
Walmart's on
Walmart's
that
on
list,
that
falling
list.
off too.
Walmart on that list.
Walmart has been rough, boy. The way they
I
treat
think
their
we spend more
employees.
money on stuff like that than anybody. But we got some of the, in the lower part of the income, you know what I'm saying? But we spend the most money on, name brand stuff or whatever.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
spend
We're $8 trillion, $8 trillion a year people. That's what we spend money on, nonsense.
bukus of money.
Oh, I gotta have that Dolce and Gabbana. Oh, girl, I gotta have that $700 hair, fake hair that you don't even buy from people that look like you. You go buy from the agent
Yeah.
who got a cap on it. Well, they don't even allow us to come in. Anybody who wants to be a distributor of the hair, you can't even go in and buy the from at that market sale or whatever,
Right.
from the Asians. They won't even let our people in.
That good Indian hair they buy too.
The good Indian hair, I don't, and man, to
Yeah.
each its own. I ain't knocking nobody, so don't
Yeah.
think that.
You
But
know.
I just think we need to learn to love ourselves a whole lot more, and I think things will get better once we start looking at ourselves, understanding what our efficacy is.
Not
you know,
that-
your own self-worth.
Not to really even take up for people that, like some people get their skin lightening or different little things, but as a whole, I mean, our people, we done went through a lot for the color. I mean, I'm proud to be.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying a lot of us that go through so much, everybody's not built the same. So I wouldn't do it. But, to each his own, if they choose to lighten their skin or whatever they do to be different, I mean, at the end of the day, on your birth certificate or whatever, you're still going to be black. But
Let me say this. Let me interrupt your wisdom. This ain't to be ugly again, but understand that the lack of pigmentation means that your genes are recessive. That's not a very good trait. So when you look at that, and without melanin, like a plant, plants are green because why? Chlorophyll. It operates the same way for us when it comes to this carbon melanin. Black gold costs more than gold. They're using melanin in computer chips and all kinds of stuff. There's nothing wrong with the way we look. There's nothing wrong with the texture of our hair, our thick lips, wide nose, our athletic ability, and amongst other things. We are a great people. We was about the earth before anybody else. You should not be ashamed of yourself. And please don't let anybody outside of your nation of people talk to you to the point where you feel less than.
That's right.
The only reason somebody want to talk to you to make you feel less than because they're not sure about themselves.
Right.
So we got to learn that.
It's a lot of races that want to be us, but they don't want to be us.
we got to teach our kids that at a young age, though. I mean, because they're not, that's something you got to be taught.
Yeah, you taught hatred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You taught this.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, if we go back, I think we mentioned it on the first show. No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to talk about, let's talk about us for a second. I know we've ventured off of DEI, which is perfectly fine. This podcast, we may end up anywhere. The Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave, written by Dr. Nana Ashanti and amongst other people that was with him. The story of a Willie Lynch is fake. The outline, the character is a fake character. But the things that he outlined, or that Dr. Nana Ashanti and the other researchers outline in the book, are things that really happen.
Okay.
You turn the light skin in against the dark skin in. You turn the house in against the field in. And I mean, you know what I mean when I say in. And watch how it works. He said in 400 years, they won't have to do any of this stuff because epigenetically it'll be coded in us.
Right.
And epigenetically, it's coded in a lot of us.
Yeah, it
We're-
is.
We're coming out of the generational curses, but it's hard to come out the generational curses when to talk racism in this country. Oh man, won't you let it go? That was so many blah 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 years ago. Jim Crow was just right before the 1960s.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. When we look at the police brutality, this gotten out of hand. So I'm saying that to say I don't think we need damn DEI. I don't care about it really. I mean, if we gathered ourselves and started respecting us in our communities and would buy from us and other people, but uplift ourselves, and we can have a thriving community as well. You know why we don't have a thriving community? As I said, I'm from Carrollton. I've seen lots of restaurants come through Carrollton and fail. They're no longer there. But the restaurants that don't look like us, that'll come on that side, little hot wing spot, been there for decades. It thrives.
Yep.
But if they look like us, it fails every single time. Luckily, my mom, been doing her thing for all these years as a cosmetologist. My sister has opened stores and what have you, and family members didn't go shop with my sister. They ain't go shop.
That's the problem.
People that shop with my sister is people from the outside, and these are the sad things. And I ain't trying to put a business in the street. I'm just saying so people understand what I'm saying. I see it.
But that's the problem. We're not supporting
No,
our own.
we don't.
What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. I ride the fence on the DEA portion of it simply because the DEI portion of it simply because it starts at home. And I said this before, and I'll say it again, because the shop that you're talking about, if the Jamaican restaurant opens, the whatever Caribbean restaurant, Haitian restaurant opens, shout out to the Haitians, we have to support them. But we have to support them from a young age. If you're not teaching your own child to love them, back to your point about the skin color, if you're not teaching your child to love themselves, she needs to know that she's a young black girl transitioning to be a woman, and she needs to love herself. She don't need to think that I've got to have long flowing locks to look beautiful. She got to know that she's beautiful as she is.
Yeah.
The young man's got to know that, hey, I don't have to go down here with my pants up under my booty to God doggone, that's old school right there, booty. But
booty,
booty
rocking
every day. That's old school.
Yeah.
But he's got to know his self-worth. He's got to know who he is. And if we teach him that, you start teaching them that about loving themselves, then they're going to love these shops. If they start loving these shops, we're going to start to patronize these shops, our shops. If they start patronizing our shops, we're going to become the billionaires and trillionaires, the thousandaires, millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires.
But I just want to be a
always
thousandaire.
about education, though. We got to educate ourselves because a lot of parents, you see, mentioning with the kids with the pants being low.
I'm gonna get on that as soon as
if
you're
you
done.
see anybody that's in their 20s, anybody that's of age, if you're old enough you got kids, and if you see the kid when his pants hanging down, and then 10 minutes later you see his dad walk by and his pants hanging down, then
there you go.
that's what he's taught.
Hello.
So you got to educate
Hello.
the parent. If the parent's not educated, then how is the kid gonna actually get educated unless somebody can catch him out and be like, hey, come here, let me talk to you. But the younger generation is so hard to talk to them that a lot of times you can't really say nothing to them, or it's gonna go to what I'm saying, it's gonna be an altercation.
He's absolutely right about
like
that.
disrespect.
But you've got to I don't even want to appeal that. My thing with that is you educate yours.
Right.
You educate yours. I educate mine. I got to get my sons and daughters, my nieces and nephews, my granddaughters and grandsons. I've got to start with me. And if you start with you and you start with you and you start with you, hey, that's four of us.
What happened to the village?
That would be the village. That would be the village. If we just take us, we're educated men. If we start, and I'm not saying that I have 9 children, 3 of them fall off. But the majority of them, I got those. Yeah. And then when the grandchildren come, I keep educating those. It was one time when we used to sit at the feet of our elders and listen to them. The stories came through the elders. They didn't come through the books because they were the book.
Yeah. They were the book.
Now we got to go to the book of what somebody else is writing. That could be or could be not.
Yeah.
So we got to be cautious of what we read.
And even with
taking the books away.
And even if the kids are educated, because kids got a mind of their own, and we've been kids.
Right.
I have seen some kids that I know that ain't what their parents taught them. You see them
Right.
parents, be like, I know his daddy ain't with that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, you can only instill it in them and hope that they grasp a hold to it, that they pick up half of what you teach them. Then you've done something. If they can grasp half of what you teach them.
I agree with that. I concur with that all the way because sometimes that fad. Sometimes it's a fad, like you said. Good point. That when we were younger, very young, less than high school, junior high school, and elementary school, we used to go what the flow was.
Yeah.
But the flow was always led by the one that was either the loudest one talking, or the most educated one, or the best athlete. Yeah. It was led by those leaders. Those were the leaders back then. Those are the leaders now.
Yeah.
If you get the star football player, people are going to follow him if he's well educated. Hey, man, I'm gonna be educated like him. If he's, and it's the same thing that transitioned over to our superstars and actors and things like that.
And,
You know,
and people that have influence like that, if they could, some people have influence and I don't believe they know it. But if you can actually, see somebody with influence like that and they actually use it the right way, you know what I'm saying? I think we'd be all right. But some people don't even know they got so much influence on their life and people watching you every move
Yeah,
you make.
that's true.
this is true.
Yes.
Because I'm a very influential person, if you know what I mean. Shout, you know what I'm saying, like that right there. Anyways, before we have to get out of here, I do want to say the sagging of the pants. People like to attribute that to being inside
Prison.
the prison, the institution of where slavery is legal. But let's go back further where it began. We're all on the plantation. We're Slavs, prisoners of war, really, because we weren't that word slave. We were prisoners of war, and we all ran, but we went north, east, south, and west. But they catch me, but they don't catch y'all. And the first thing they're gonna do is let's say it's winter time when we ran, they're gonna take one of those buckets and get some of that water out of the lake. They're gonna strap me down to a chair. They're gonna put a little bowl up here, hollow in the bottom, and they're gonna let that cold water run on my head until I tell it, but I don't tell it, so my brain end up freezing. And then you got the first idea for the electric chair. So then they continue looking after they've killed me by freezing my brain. Then they catch you, and you don't tell it. They may bury you like they used to do our kids from your neck up. And then they go around and start kicking it till your head fall off. And then you got the game called kickball. Then, when you think about it, they catch him and they decide, shoot, what we're going to do is whip him till he damn near go into shock, which they probably didn't know it was called shock. A lot of pseudoscience going on back then. And then they pour stuff like salt inside the womb and stitch it up. You know what that does to the body. These are things that happen.
Yeah.
Now, about the sagging of the pants, they finally catch Depot. They're going to put him in like one of these little guillotine things. But this is later on, after they whip him a little. A couple of weeks later, he's healed. They're having a party where all the plantations are coming together. Now, these are men of the time during the antebellum period. They're going to have their fill of beer, ale, whatever they called it at the time. He's going to be walking around without a shirt on his body, no shoes on his feet, and a pair of burlap sack pants, them old school potato bags, with a hanging showing the crack of his ass. And that's how he got to serve them their food and their drink. As they slapped him on the ass, excuse my French, but this is true, telling them what they're going to do to him later. Now, you might be thinking about they're going to kill him or torture him in front of everybody, but no. They're going to drink until they've had their fill of drunk. Then they're going to put him in that little thing I mentioned earlier, almost like you buy what it's called guillotine, where you're going to get your head cut off, with the pants still sagging, showing more of the crack of his ass. And then they're going to have their way about him. And they're going to make the entire plantation of the prisoners of war watch. While all these drunk men,
Have their way.
plantations owners, have their way with that man or those men. This is where the sagging of pants come from. Now, as you try to explain this to grown-ass men to date, they don't care. They still gonna wear the damn pants sagging off their ass. This makes no sense to me. You want to walk around because you feel like that is cool. This is the thing to do. No. What kind of message are you sending to our children inside of our communities, our tribe that you were saying build? Right. So like y'all was saying, if this is what they're being taught growing up, as you said, the son, you saw the little boy, then what if the father come out the same way? Right. We're going to continuously lose. And this is how the other nations of people always looking at us and really don't want to let us in, because they know if they let us in the way some of us think, not all of us, we're going to mess up the structure of their thing. They're bringing this garbage. Right. They're bringing this mess. Yeah, I mean, grown men at work, even at work, go out with my fams and just people you see, go to the store, get gas.
40,
watch and see what
40
you see.
40-something-year-old men.
Grown men.
With daughters and sons.
Even
Grandkids.
at
walking around like
barbershops,
that.
I see
Yeah.
when. Well, I don't have to go now, but I used to have to go to the barbershop, and you see young men coming in, like single women come in with their kids, and young men coming out with their pants hanging down. And me, I don't have my own business, but if I did, now I can't control what you do outside the street. But if you come in my business, yeah, you're gonna have them pants pulled up, or you can find somebody else to cut your hair. But
I'll lose money over that too. I would.
Sometimes I have. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I think he just got a text from somebody saying he getting a little ticked off about us talking about sagging the pants.
Well, I would say this, and then we can segue to something else before you close. I would say one of the ways to combat it is us that are girls' dads, or if you're not a girl's dad, because I'm a girl's dad. I have all girls, and but I say that to say, if we teach our young ladies not to praise worship that particular behavior, the young men will also. This is just an added help, a little push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that if you're not attracted to that, if you don't, dads, if you don't allow that to be brought into your house, moms, if you don't allow that to be brought into your house, then it's going to curtail that sagging of the pants, if that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Because the young lady, you have a young lady that looks exceptionally well, walking with the young man that's pants at his thighs. And my thought is always, wow, you know, who's leading who? You know, we talk about how black men should be the leaders of the families. Here you go. Now, this young man right there, he's been a leader family because she could very well, at this day and age, get pregnant, have a child. What are her thoughts about that? Well, you know, his daddy do it, so, you know, it ain't a big thing. I never looked at it like that. So one of the things I was just saying to combat it is to speak to your young ladies as well.
Well, I told my daughter that, hey, don't bring a guy to my house. You know, if you are talking to a guy like that, he can't come to my house. You have to pull his pants up. He come to my house.
My son will tell you before he went off to college and started his own family and what have you. Any of his friends will come through the front door. You better tell them before they get in here, because I don't play the radio. We ain't doing it. We're not doing that. Absolutely not. I don't care what you do outside of here, but inside of here, we ain't doing that. You know.
So to circle back to DEA, say it again.
DEI.
There you go. I was like, somebody's got to catch it.
DA.
I caught you earlier. I was like,
I ain't say anything. I'm like, okay.
But circling back, I'll leave that to you.
well, we just have to understand what DEI is. It was created to help everybody. And I want everybody to know, and I know we ventured off and never really ventured back, but hey, again, it's part of podcasting. Our guests had to cancel, so we just threw us something together, and here we are. I love it like this, though, because it pushed us to do it and
Put a
make
potluck.
us great. Yeah, it's a potluck. But DEI, melanated people, also known or better known as black people. Black is a political, social construct which has no standing in law. Y'all, I can do this all day. Whoever want the heat, please come see me. I can go up to 105 quick. DEI, black people benefit the least. White women benefit the most, and then there's everybody else in between. So let's kill this narrative that black people need DEI. Again, black women are the smartest women, the smartest demographic between man and woman in this country, if not the world. So regardless of what you say, we thank y'all for joining us, Brown.
at this time, we'd like to thank you for sharing your frequency, your rhythm, and your vibration with the CP family. And may the universe continue to favor you. Until next time.
Thank you.